Hello and welcome to another episode of the East Coast College Admissions Podcast, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about getting into your dream schools on the East Coast. I'm Cleopatra, and today we are diving into one of the most nerve-wracking yet essential parts of college admissions process, college interviews. Specifically, we are going to explore how you can prepare for and ace your interviews, with a special focus on what East Coast schools are looking for. So whether you've got an alumni interview with an Ivy League school coming up or preparing for a one-on-one with a smaller liberal arts college, this episode is for you. Let's get started. So we are going to start with the basics. Why do colleges conduct interviews in the first place? What's the goal here? While not all the colleges require interviews, many East Coast institutions, specifically selective ones, use interviews to assess whether a candidate is a good fit for their campus culture. This is your opportunity to showcase the personal side of your application that doesn't come in through the grades, test scores, or even essays. It's a way for schools to see your personality, your communication skills, and your passion for what you are hoping to study. Some colleges, especially the Ivies like Harvard and Yale, conduct alumni interviews. Other colleges like smaller liberal arts colleges like Williams or Amherst may have on-campus interviews with admissions officers or staff. Either way, you are meeting with someone who is gauging not just whether you are a strong academic candidate, but whether you will be a valuable member of their community. Let's explore the different types of interviews you might encounter, especially if you are applying to East Coast colleges. Number 1, alumni interviews. These are often more conversational and happen off campus, either in person or online. Alumni interviews can be great because they give you an insight into the student's experience from someone who has been through it all. However, alumni can vary widely in how they approach the interview. Some might stick to the formal list of questions, while others are more laid back and informal. Number 2, the admissions officer interviews. These are typically more formal and often happen on campus or over video calls. The admissions officer will likely be more experienced in evaluating candidates, so they may ask more deeper, more focused questions like your academic interest, extracurriculars, and why you are interested in their school specifically. Number 3, the group interviews. While this is really less common, some schools or scholarship programs may hold group interviews where multiple candidates are interviewed all at the same time. These require a different strategy, as you will need to stand out without coming across as overly competitive. Last but not the least on the type of interview are the virtual interviews. With the rise of online platforms, many interviews are now conducted virtually. This has become more common post-pandemic. The rules of preparation remain the same, but you also need to ensure your tech setup is on point. So let's move into the next segment. How to prepare for a college interview. These are the 3 key areas that you need to focus on: research, practice, and self-presentation. And I'm going to go into details in a bit. Let's start with researching the school. Before your interview, you need to know the school inside out. Understand its mission statement, its academic offerings, and any unique programs that align with your interest. This is especially true for East Coast colleges, where traditions and culture play a big role in campus life. For example, if you're interviewing with a school like Princeton, you might want to mention the senior thesis requirement or the Wilson School if you're interested in public policy. Demonstrating specific knowledge shows that you are genuinely interested in the school and not just applying as a backup. And for a pro tip, prepare a list of 3 to 5 reasons why you are excited about this school specifically. Admissions officers love to hear that you've done your homework. On preparing for the common interview questions, while every interview is different, there are some common questions you can expect, like, tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in this college? What do you want to study and why? How do you spend your free time? What's a challenge you face and how did you overcome it? It's important to practice answering these questions so that you sound confident and prepared, but not rehearsed. Try mock interviews with a friend, a family member, a counselor to get feedback on your responses. The third point, and last but not the least on preparing for your college interview, is highlighting your strengths and your interest. Your interviewer will want to know not just what you've accomplished, but what makes you, you. This is where you can talk about your extracurriculars, your leadership roles, or your unique hobbies. Whether you are passionate about debate, community service, or writing, make sure to connect your interest back to what the school values. So, for example, if you're interviewing with Columbia University, which emphasizes civic engagement, you could talk about a community project you've led and how you'd continue that work through their community impact program. The key is to align your passions with the opportunities the college offers. So you've done your research and you've practiced your answers. Now it's time for the interview itself. Here are some final tips to make sure you ace the interview. Dress appropriately. I cannot stress this enough. Whether online or in person, always dress in business casual. First impressions matter, and a neat appearance shows that you are serious and respectful of the opportunity. Be early, but not too early. If it's an in-person interview, arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early. For virtual interviews, log in a few minutes ahead of time to check your internet connection and camera setup. Be ready with questions. An interview is a two-way street. Asking thoughtful questions shows that you are engaged and interested. Here are a few examples of questions to ask. What's your favorite tradition on campus? How does the school support student involvement in, let's say, basketball? What's the campus community like, especially for freshmen? Avoid asking questions that can easily be answered by looking at the school's website. Instead, focus on things that will help you better understand the culture and the environment. Be yourself. It's easy to feel the pressure to sound perfect in these interviews, but admissions officers and alumni want to meet the real you. Be honest about your experiences and let your personality shine through. Remember, they are not looking for perfect students. They are looking for authentic, curious, and passionate individuals who will thrive in their school environment. The last point on this is follow up with a thank you note. Some colleges will insist you do not follow up, but after the interview, it's always good to send a thank you email within 24 hours. Mention something specific from your conversation to make it personal. This small gesture can go a long way in leaving a positive impression. Before we wrap up, let's talk briefly about East Coast specific insights when it comes to interviews. Let's explore the Ivy League interviews. Ivy Leagues like Harvard, Yale, and Dartmouth are notorious for their alumni interview processes. These interviews are more gauging your fit for the school rather than grilling you with difficult questions. So be prepared to talk about your long-term goals and how you see yourself growing with their community. Let's take a look at the liberal arts colleges like Williams or Middlebury often emphasize fit and your interest in the academic offerings. They are also more likely to ask about your interests outside of the classroom as they value well-rounded students who contribute to their campus life. And regarding urban and rural campuses, schools located in major cities like New York or Boston University may ask questions about how you will navigate life in an urban environment, whereas rural schools like Hobby College may emphasize how you will engage with a more close-knit campus-centered community. And that's a wrap up for today's episode. To summarize, college interviews are your chance to showcase your personality, demonstrate your fit with the school, and highlight the strengths that make you a standout candidate. Whether you are interviewing with an Ivy League alumni or an admissions officer at a liberal arts college, preparation is key. Know your stuff. Be yourself, and remember, this is as much a chance for you to learn about the school as it is for them to learn about you. So thank you for tuning into the East Coast College Admissions Podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe and share it with a friend who is going through the admissions process. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Good luck with your interviews, and I'll see you next time.